Hey everyone, it's Patchdown Bogad. Today I'm going to speak briefly about certain means of communication. I spoke about this in another video, various communications, I believe. You can see this as part two, or even just an altogether different video. But the last video was really pertaining to like a Ouija board, pendulum, and things of that nature. This time, it's more to do with self. What I mean by that is that with the other video, it actually by default assumed that you knew what you were doing as far as having the skills to basically operate a Ouija board effectively, or at least pick it up to practice upon it so that you can speak with a spirit. But with this one, when I mean about more like self, we're talking about it's more like advanced, because what I mean by advanced is the fact that you've already did your energy work. You've already know how to raise your energy. You know how to program your energy, and then lastly to direct your energy. You probably already using telepathy spoke with the daemon yourself, or you open up your chakra, especially your throat chakra, so that you can communicate and hear the daemon speak. So it's more like, if not advanced, more like an intermediate level. So you already have your experience, so to speak, right? So with that said, and it has nothing to do, this video has nothing to do with props, but based off of the power of your mind and your energy, which is the fundamental, let's say, teachings of witchcraft. Now we could go over these various forms of communication. You have invocation, evocation, channeling, and also even possession. Now, I want to go with possession first because it's infamous. It's infamous in the sense where, of course, we have Judo Christianity, and you have the movies. Uh, the person gets possessed, and they're running on walls and foaming from the mouth and things of that nature. But you know what? Even though I have heard of cases where the particular individual, they find themselves possessed, and mind you, this is me reading it, I haven't witnessed it myself, but based off of what I hear, they tend to become like blinked out. Obviously, as I'm reading these articles and I hear it from it, based off of what someone's telling me and how I'm interpreting it, it really comes off as if the person is obviously not themselves. It's like it's almost as if it's against their will. Now, interestingly, what I mean by against their will, I mean it's within the word possession. Can a daemon possess you? The answer is yes. If you ask for the permission, or you know what I mean. It's like you go ahead and you take that incentive, and then you go, hey, look, Belial, could you possess me? And I just want to see how it goes. Let's just, but of course you want to have a actual reason behind it, other than you just want to. But it can happen. But I personally would not be too focused on what I see in the movies, because possession to me is more like an astral parasite, a sludge that pretty much went inside of you, and you're against your will, and you're doing something that will hurt you and those that you love. But when a daemon does it, the big difference is that there's no harm done, there's no foul play, you know. But at the same time, do remember the person is not themselves, and it's usually against their will. But differentiate, please, when I talk about the topic of possession. When it comes to a daemon, it's usually not something that you want to have a negative vibe with. And that's provided that you have deprogrammed your mind when it comes to the Judo-Christian or Abrahamic belief system. But if it's a sludge or a astral parasite, then yeah, I could see individuals even committing murder, which is like really, really heinous. And I do not recommend doing that. By no means. Understand what you're doing, and of course, even though this is intermediate and you should know this by now, but still do a safe practice when it comes to magic. So that's possession. What about channeling? A lot of people find that to be the same thing. They're even used interchangeably in the same breath. Well, they're not. See, channeling is actually something that you do when you willfully, you know, by your own free will, your expressed will, you ask that particular daemon or even that spirit, someone who perhaps lived here prior to yourself or myself, and then you channel them doing means of, well, channeling. So now, um, you could see this through the practice of, let's say, a Ouija board, or better yet, tarot card readings, or and the list goes on. But the more I think about it, I don't want to keep on rambling and rambling and on and on and on. I just want to get to the point as quickly as possible so that we could get a good summary of it. But out of all the things I could think of as of now, those are the two that I can think of. But if you really do get the sense of it, um, if you do, like, for example, I do tarot card readings, right? Even though I personally haven't channeled a particular daemon or a dead loved one, I do know for a fact that it does happen. And the reason why I say I do know for a fact is I've been with Satan under 10 years. And that means that with the years and years and years that I've been with him, I've seen some shit. I'm talking about my credit card disappearing and then reappearing. And no, I'm not just saying in the same day, in the same location. I'm talking about I am fucking like thousands of miles away and then it reappears where I live in New York. You can't make that shit up. And seeing things in my own apartment, seeing things at my workplace, people walking around. It's just like it's astronomical, the stuff that I've given witness to. But the reason why I'm bringing that up is that even though it sounds as if I'm going a little off topic, I'm not. The idea is the more you work with demons, the more you're going to see that particular demon manifest. I don't care. It's said that even if you work with that particular demon and they don't manifest, then they say that's usually a bad thing. That's what I hear. I don't take any qualm with that. I know I've seen Satan more than enough, even physical manifestation. But you know what? I don't necessarily need to channel Satan if need be, but channeling in tarot card readings is also a good thing, because if that person wants to go beyond, and what I mean by the beyond or beyond the veil, they want to speak to a dead loved one, and they want to find some closure. But usually channeling, it really has less to do with against your will and more so willfully. Willfully done in a way where you want to have the exact results to that dead loved one. Now, when it comes to channeling as well, there's been this idea, and again, it's Judo Christian ideas, and don't get twisted with this. It's just an idea that I want you to keep in mind, but I'm gonna debunk it because they say that this particular spirit will pluck the idea from your subconscious or your memory, and then they'll use those exact words as you remember them as. But to debunk that, that still doesn't make any sense, because even if that is true, there's no harm done. And to debunk it, interestingly, when you're channeling, it's interesting that that other person always agrees to what you're saying. Even if the person that, let's say, is doing the channeling, like myself, it means nothing to me on what I'm saying to the individual. But however, if I'm the channeler, what I would believe the spirit would do, would be wise on their own end, is to bring up something that is not from memory, that's not from source, if you will. So, in other words, the person that's receiving the tarot card reading, they're not basically depending on their memory. You get what I'm trying to say? Because if you depend on something that they don't know, but yet they were living at that particular time, or they somehow heard it from word of mouth and it claims to be true, or they go to the internet and then it still claims to be true. See, that's actually really nice. And that's something that proves that the spirit is actually speaking through the individual, and they're not just simply plucking memory from the subconscious mind of the individual you're doing the tarot with. Now, that's channeling. What about evocation or invocation? Well, that's without. What about invocation? Well, that's within. So you're taking the spirit or you're taking the daemon. This is invocation, and you bring them inward. Invocation, en, they're actually externally, and you're actually communicating with them. Regardless of which one you pick, they're both actually really good, and they actually benefit you, the person that's actually communicating with that particular daemon or spirit. Now, the reason why I say that's good is because those form of intermediate communication is actually really good. And also, I probably didn't even mention this in the preface of this video, but here's another thing that I thought was really good as far as communication: energy work. What I'm trying to say is this: I remember when I was starting out in the left hand path, when I was trying to communicate with Satan, which was like so far out. I would go to the closet in my workplace. It was a decent sized closet, and I would turn off the lights, close the door, and I would just focus on Satan, and I would communicate with him that way. But I tried something new that was suggested to me, and I'm gonna suggest it to you. What's actually really beneficial too is if you do energy work and you ask the daemon to actually help you direct energy, and that is also a really really good way. So in other words, where my tattoo of Satan is on my left arm, and the other opposite tattoo that I have is like a tribal, I would pretty much ask Satan to have the energies go up and down this left arm of mine, and then have it switch to my right side of my arm, and then stop as it's on the right side of my arm, and then have it go up and down, and have him stop, and then do it again. That is confirmation. That's fucking far out, because you can't make that shit up. I mean, I can understand if you feel as if you're using telepathy and you may get that, that awkward feeling that you're communicating with yourself, but you cannot fool that. I mean, as the energy was going from one arm to another, I would have him go to the right and left side of the hemisphere of my mind. And oh my goodness, I kid you not, the energy would go to, let's say, the left hemisphere of my mind, and then it would travel all the way down to like my nose, my eye, or my mouth itself, and it would stay there, and it goes to the right. You cannot make that up. And you could get a little artistic with it. You could say, well, you know what? I'm going to ask you a question and give me a yes or no. See, if the answer is yes, stay on my left side of my hemisphere of my body. And if it's a no, then the opposite. And then you could get your answers that way. It's really good energy work. But remember, by default, I'm considering a lot of this more like intermediate, and it's provided that you've opened up your chakras. Okay? But that's actually good way of communication. I hope that this video helped you to appreciate that there's various ways that you could communicate with your particular spirit guide, your daemon, archangel, or whatever. But regardless, see if my suggestions actually work in line with what you want, so that you could better your relationship with your particular daemon and communicate with them. Now, of course, as always, friends, if you like this video, just smash that like button, and if you want to subscribe to more videos, go right ahead. Please do so. It helps me out a lot. Fams, I love you all, and continue coming to my channel for more updated material. I love you all, and have a good one. See you soon.